Hey friends! Oof, what a doozy it has been. Officially, as of right now, I am 15 weeks, although actually I'm recording this a little late. I'm 15 weeks and 3 days at this point, I think. And I've got a pretty good reason for that. So a lot happened this week. Buckle up, it might be a long one. So you might have seen in the last video, I'll post it up here. We did go to Disney this past week. It was my first time, probably only time ever, if I'm honest, going to Disney World pregnant, like personally pregnant, because I've been to Disney World with pregnant people, but never pregnant myself. And so I talked about what we did at each park, the things that I skipped at each park and why. Kind of tips and tricks for keeping yourself healthy and well while you're at the parks. So in case you're pregnant and you're considering going to Disney, that might be worth a watch. But that wasn't the only thing that happened in this last week. Details, of course, are in that video as far as how I actually spent those, handful of days. But the night we returned from our trip, literally we'd been home for 15 minutes, my son had a seizure. And he has had suspected seizures in the past where it kind of looked like the aftermath of the seizure, but we didn't actually witness any seizing itself. This was like full-blown textbook, like close your eyes and imagine what a seizure looks like. That's exactly what he went through when we got home from that last park day. And so obviously we called 911. They took him straight to the ER, and they had to do all sorts of tests on him, of course. He actually ended up admitted to the PICU, the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit. It was absolutely terrifying because basically the way that the seizure presented, like the way that the seizure looked to them, sounded like it could have been potentially even a stroke, which is horrifying to even think about. So they had to do all sorts of tests to rule that out, and luckily eventually they did. But obviously, it's not just, okay, well, it wasn't a stroke, you're free to go home. Like, a seizure occurred, they need to figure out why and see if this is something that could potentially happen again, etc. So he was held there for several days. He had to be, like I said, admitted for the first time ever in his life. He had to be sedated for the first time ever in his life because they had to do his very first MRI, and also an MRA and an MRV, which I didn't even realize was a thing, but it's apparently where they look at the arteries and the veins in the brain, as well as just the general imaging. Things I wish I didn't know, but I know them now. And that all came back clean. The CT was clean. However, his EEG, he did do a 24-hour EEG this time, because when we went in December for our last scare, and I did vlog about that as well, they only did a 1-hour EEG, and I have always felt and made it very vocal that a 1-hour EEG is BS, because what are the chances that in an hour of anything you're going to actually catch activity of any kind? Like, watching something for an hour versus watching something for 24 hours, even 48 hours, you're obviously going to be likelier to see something in a bigger window than you are in just that 1 hour. You have to be really lucky, basically, to catch whatever you're looking for in 1 hour of any sort of surveillance. So they did a 24-hour test this time, and sure enough, it did come out not normal. So, we're going to be following up with several specialists in the next couple of weeks to kind of hopefully have everybody come to a consensus together. It's going to be an endeavor for sure, because it's going to be different specialists in different offices, different cities even, hopefully all coming together and cooperating with one another to come to a conclusion of what's going to be the best option for my son. So I'm having to coordinate all of that, and of course we have to go to all the appointments and make all that happen. So I know that none of this is pregnancy related specifically, but it's a very big important part of what's happened to us. It happened to me in the last week, and so I felt the need to address it. I'm also kind of feeling like, as of right now, I haven't vlogged in almost 2 entire weeks because we've been on staycation, and I had told my viewers that I wasn't planning on vlogging while I was on staycation. But now I'm almost kind of feeling like, I don't know if I want to keep vlogging, like daily vlogging anyways, period, anymore, because I feel like certain things I don't owe to the public. I know that now I'm telling you guys what's going on, but at this rate, it's been almost a year. Like, you're watching this now almost a year after it actually happened. And so surely by now I've mentioned it on the channel. But while it's still kind of like raw and like we're still in the process of it, I don't want to be posting in real time what's happening with my son and his medical situation and then have people weigh in, and then I have to listen to their opinions while I'm still trying to figure out on my own what I think about everything. So it's kind of making me feel like I might take a break from daily vlogging. It's not to say that I won't still do like a week in the life here and there, or maybe I will get back to daily vlogging, but I'm just going to take a longer break than I initially thought. Either way, I can tell you that right now I'm not going to be talking about my son on my channel as far as like, not live, but pretty much. Typically my vlogs, if I'm recording on a Monday, you're seeing it on a Thursday, and I feel like that's not enough cushion of time right now. This is, but the way that I typically vlog, like I said, I don't want other people weighing in on things that are currently in progress that I'm still processing myself without having the peanut gallery and their opinions. So we'll see how all that goes. How does this relate to the pregnancy specifically? Well, that first day that my son was in the hospital, I was obviously extremely stressed and freaking the out. After just coming off of several days at the theme parks and being tired, and we couldn't wait to just be in our own beds and relaxing. Now suddenly my son's having an emergency pediatric intensive care unit situation, with nary a breath between the two phases. So I was contracting at the hospital. I was having sharp pains in my uterus, etc. And so the moment that my son was kind of stabilized and they had told us he is definitely going to be admitted, we're just waiting on a bed upstairs, but he's good now. We've done everything we can for him right now. He's fine. He's stable. They basically said to me, now you need to go to the other side of the building, check into the adult ER, and they need to check you out, because the fact that I kept doubling over and like basically yelping in pain, that's how hardcore the situation was. And they were like, something might be wrong with the baby, or something might be wrong with you. You need to go get yourself checked out. So I did that, went to the ER. So my mom basically came with me to the adult ER while my husband stayed with our son in the pediatric ER. And they took blood work, they took urinalysis, and they did an ultrasound. Baby was totally fine. They didn't tell me what they tested as far as the blood and the urine, but they also told me that that was fine. However, I was severely dehydrated. So between the dehydration of, literally we had just come home from a theme park, didn't even get a chance to have a drink of water in my own house before everything happened. But between the dehydration and the stress, that's what was causing the cramping. So they obviously insisted that I drink a ton of water, and because, I'm drinking for 2, I'm creating amniotic fluid, etc., etc., and so that has to always be priority 1. And they're right, and I'm usually really good about my water intake, but that day in particular, getting caught up in the parks, etc., it was a travel day, and then immediately coming home to this emergency with my son, hydration was not at the top of my list. So I'm glad we got to see baby. Obviously she's fine, everything's fine. But trust that I'm really, really prioritizing hydration right now, because that was an extra scare that I really didn't need. So as it is right now, we are all fine. We are all home. We are all safe and just working on whatever the next steps are. But baby's good. I'm good. And so now that I've caught you guys up on what's happened this last week, let me show you guys. I guess we'll do the belly bump first, and then I'll show you guys what's going on as far as the app is concerned. My husband rearranged the living room while we were out of town, And I'm not sure how I feel yet about the lighting and the background, etc. But it is what it is. Like, this is just what we're working with right now, so bear with me. But here's the belly shot. So there she is. Is it bigger than last week? I really don't know, but little girl's pretty big, which is exciting news. And she's just as active as ever, so all good things. But yeah, that's my 15.5-week belly. Now for little girl, she is currently as big as Alice's teacup, Alice in Wonderland, which again, not super easy to extrapolate. Well, how big is that? So she's also as big as a cootie catcher. Those little like paper things that we used to fold up in grade school to like tell your, we called them fortune tellers. But yeah, those little things. So she's as big as one of those, as big as a softball. And this app says that she's as big as a pear. My OB doctor portal says that she's as big as an apple. So pick your fruit, I guess. As far as her actual development, so okay, I'm in month 4 of pregnancy, we know that. Baby is looking more like a baby, apparently. Can't confirm because we saw her at the hospital a couple days ago. And let me see. Her ears are positioned properly on the sides of her head now because apparently they used to be on her neck. And the eyes are moving from the side of the head to the front of the face. So everything's kind of, everything already exists. It's just a matter of like shifting into its final position and then growing. So that's happening now. They're also practicing for the outside world, working on breathing, sucking, and swallowing motions so that they're able to do these things, or she's able to do these things when she's born. Your fetus is also holding daily aerobics classes, kicking, curling toes, and moving those little arms and legs. Baby's heartbeat can now be heard through a Doppler. So that's very cool. And then, actually, my mom got to meet the baby for the first time because, like I said, she came with me to the adult ER while hubby stayed with kiddo. And so my mom hadn't seen live, I suppose, an ultrasound. Like, we've been showing her pictures and stuff, but she hadn't actually witnessed an ultrasound with baby girl yet. And one of the things we got to see was little girl going like this with her hands and like showing us all of her fingers. So that was very cool because she's got bones now, so she's able to do this, and her fingers are no longer webbed, so they actually move freely independently of each other. As far as me, the one thing that I have to point out that has happened in the last couple days, maybe this is more of like a week 16 thing. Well, I've been having back pain, but I'll talk about that more at the end of this week because that's something that really only just started yesterday, and technically that means that it would be covered in the next update. So I'll leave that for next week, but just know that I have been having back pain, and I don't think it's necessarily pregnancy related, but it's something I'm dealing with on top of the pregnancy, so there's that. And yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised that this video is a little shorter than they have been recently, but a lot happened in the last week. Theme parks, emergencies, just, it feels like I've lived a lifetime in this last week. And I'm just really, really happy to report that so far so good with everyone, right? Yeah, like I said, I'm 15 weeks and 3 days now, so it's only 3 or 4 days before I come back and do the week 16 update, and you guys will see that next week. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for supporting me throughout all of this, because obviously, like, these videos are meant to just be pregnancy related, but my pregnancy does not exist in a vacuum. Like, real life is also going on, and as you can see, real life affects the pregnancy just as much as pregnancy affects real life. And so thank you for being here and letting me talk to you guys about everything that's going on. And hopefully when I come back next week, I'll have good news. I mean, all things considered, this was good news. So hopefully I come back with even more good news next week. And yeah, thanks for being on the adventure with me. Bye.